We start with a geographic curse, the Levant. It's the ultimate land bridge between continents. For 3,000 years, its location made it a perpetual target. Empires marched through these valleys, building temples only for the next conqueror to tear them down. By 70 AD, the Roman Empire had shattered the Jewish presence here, destroying their sacred temple and scattering the population across the globe. All that remained was the Western Wall, a permanent reminder of what was lost. This era birthed a core Jewish trauma, the vulnerability of being a people in permanent exile. For the next 2,000 years, they would live as minorities in foreign lands, carrying the memory of a lost sovereign home. While the Jewish diaspora maintained a spiritual dream of returning to Zion, their physical reality was one of being scattered worldwide, often facing persecution. But the land of Palestine was not a vacuum waiting for their return. Living in ancient cities and farming the hillsides under the Ottoman Empire. By the late 1800s, two unyielding realities were about to collide: an ancient claim of return and a deeply established modern demographic reality. In the late 19th century, rising European nationalism brought a deadly surge of anti-Semitism. It became clear that Jewish communities were unsafe, even in supposedly enlightened Western societies. This peaked with the Dreyfus Affair in France. Alfred Dreyfus, a loyal Jewish military officer, was falsely convicted of treason. His trial proved that no matter the level of integration, their religion could still make them an enemy of the state. A journalist named Theodor Herzl watched this unfold and reached a radical conclusion: survival required a sovereign Jewish state. He called this movement Zionism. Zionism transformed a religious longing into an organized political movement, aiming to move a global population directly back to Palestine. During World War I, the British Empire began making competing promises to secure the region. They first guaranteed independence to Arab leaders in exchange for their support in defeating the Ottomans. But in 1917, they issued a different pledge. The Balfour Declaration officially endorsed the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, effectively dismissing the political rights of the Arab majority, who had been promised that same land. Then came the Holocaust. The industrialized murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany turned the Zionist project from a political goal into a desperate necessity for physical survival. When survivors tried to reach Palestine, the British blocked them. Ships like the Exodus 1947, packed with refugees, were intercepted by the British Navy and sent back to Europe, creating a global moral crisis. Facing international guilt and administrative exhaustion, the British gave up. They handed the territory to the newly formed United Nations to be divided. In 1947, the UN voted to partition the land into 2 states. Jewish leaders accepted the map, but Arab leaders rejected it as a theft of their territory. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declared the independence of the State of Israel, ending 2,000 years of Jewish statelessness. Within 24 hours, 5 Arab armies invaded. The declaration was met with a brutal existential war that Israel eventually won. For Palestinians, the cost was total. Over 700,000 people were expelled or fled from their villages. They called it al-Nakba, the catastrophe, an event that remains the foundation of their modern identity. 1948 created a tragic paradox. The redemption and survival of one people required the catastrophic displacement of another. For decades, Israel fought multiple wars against neighboring Arab states who refused to acknowledge its right to exist. In the 1967 Six-Day War, a preemptive strike led to a massive expansion. Israel captured Gaza, the West Bank, the Sinai, and the Golan Heights. By 1978, the shock of the Yom Kippur War led to the Camp David Accords. Egypt became the first Arab nation to recognize Israel, securing a historic peace on the southern border. But this peace left a massive problem untouched. Millions of stateless Palestinians were now living under a permanent Israeli military occupation in the captured territories. Under Yasser Arafat, the PLO shifted tactics. They moved away from relying on Arab neighbors and began launching their own direct, armed resistance against Israel. In 1987, a grassroots uprising known as the First Intifada erupted. Ordinary Palestinian civilians used stones and debris to fight the modern Israeli military in the streets. This led to the 1993 Oslo Accords, a rare moment of hope where both sides recognized each other's right to exist and began planning for a two-state solution. That hope was sabotaged by extremists on both sides. Hamas launched a wave of suicide bombings, and a far-right Israeli nationalist assassinated Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Today, the map remains a tragic gridlock. The historical trauma of both populations is continuously weaponized, creating a cycle of history that refuses to break.